Morning, children. How are you? I hope yesterday's class you enjoyed. So today also we are going to enjoy. Listen the lesson very carefully and attentively. Okay, done. So children, we are dealing the lesson metals and non-metals. So until now we have completed two parts. In the first part, I have taught all the physical properties of metals and non-metals with few examples. In the second part, we have done activities related to physical properties of metals and non-metals. I hope you have understood till now whatever I explained. If you have any doubt, you can call me. Not only that, just rewatch the videos and read the text each and every line. You will be understanding. Okay, children. So today we are going to deal the one more part of a lesson, metals and non-metals. Please be attentive and listen. A new topic and a very interesting. So pay attention, children. So children, when we are dealing the lessons like matter around us, synthetic fibers, those two related to chemistry. So some more related to chemistry concept, just we have to discuss today to continue with the next part of our lesson, metals and non-metals. So already you are aware of this definition of matter, anything in the world which occupies space and has mass. So matter is divided into again two types like element and compound. So just listen about element, children. The various substances around us are of two kinds. One kind is very simple and that cannot be broken into simpler by any chemical methods like hydrogen, oxygen. These two comes under gas, iron, silver, etc. consists of one and the same type of matter. And these are known as examples of elements. Okay. Now coming to the definition, simple form of matter which cannot be decomposed into simpler substances is element. Okay. It consists of one and the same type of matter. Already I have discussed this point. When you come to the compound, compound is a substance of the other kind. I told that divided into two types. So this is the second type. When two or more elements combine chemically in such a way that the properties of the resulting substance are entirely different from those of combining elements, then the chemical compound is formed. Okay, it can be decomposed into two or more substances. Okay, now when you come to the definition, it is a substance produced by union of two or more elements in different proportions. Okay, and one more thing is the elements or the examples of a compound are when you take water, H2O, you know that. So here hydrogen and oxygen, both individual elements, they combine to form a compound. Compound is water here. Now when you go with your example like carbon dioxide, carbon is a gas and oxygen is a gas. Both combinedly you get carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide and water are the examples of a compound, children. So individually, hydrogen has one property, oxygen will have one property. When they both combine in the form of water, the properties of water is different. That's what I told, the definition of a compound in such a way. So keep in the mind these all points. Now when you come to the atom, children, the smallest particle of an atom which can take part in a chemical chain is called an atom. I hope you have understood. Children, here you have to remember that atom may or may not be capable of independent existence. This point you have to remember. Okay. When you come to the next one is molecule, the smallest particle of the matter which is capable of independent existence is called a molecule. And listen some more points here. It is the smallest particle of a substance which possesses the properties of the whole substance. Okay, and this molecule cannot be subdivided. Okay, this part also you have to keep in the mind. And here in this we have two types like molecule of an element and the molecule of a compound. So I will tell in the later part. If you see here, actually this is the structure of atom. Inside you get nucleus. So nucleus consists of protons and neutrons. And these electrons will be in the outer layer. So this is your atom structure. Okay, keep in the mind. Okay. So this inside nucleus we find protons and neutrons. Outside the nucleus in this particular orbits we find electrons. So more about this you are going to learn in 9th standard and 10th standard children. Up to now only what are the fundamental basics I am just teaching here which are required. That is why be attentive and listen. So already I have shown this structure. Okay, here this is nucleus. In the nucleus we find protons and neutrons. Neutrons will have one type of charge and protons will have charge. Here charges means like plus and minus mark. So these electrons. Okay, the same structure can be written in this way. So here like this we have some circular orbits. How the planets revolve around the sun. Sun will be in the center and the planets revolve around the sun in a particular orbit. Like that. Here you imagine this is your sun and this is the orbits of your other planets. Okay. Here in the sun's place we have a nucleus and the nucleus is a combination of neutrons and protons. Already I told neutron will have a neutral charge and proton will have a positive charge. Okay. Keep this all in the mind. And if you see the like in the orbits you have electrons. Electrons are with the negative charge. Okay, this is called this whole thing is called an atom. Either you can represent in this way or in this way. Now I hope you have understood what is atom. In an atom we find in the nucleus we find protons and neutrons, and in the outermost orbits we will find electrons. Electrons are of a negative charge, whereas protons are of positive charge. This part only you remember. Ma. So children, listen carefully here. Uh, a chemist, instead of writing a full and lengthy names of an element, he used abbreviations called symbols. In the language of chemistry, just listen here. A symbol represents one atom of an element. Already I told about atom and I told the definition of element. Now coming to the definition of a symbol, the abbreviations used for the lengthy names of an elements are called symbols. Okay, and one more point here you have to remember. A symbol is not merely an abbreviation for the name of an element, but has a quantitative significance also. Okay, you have to remember like that. O stands for the atom of oxygen, but also it has 16 parts by weight. This is called atomic weight of the element. And this atomic weight of the element in the higher classes, that means in 9th standard you will learn. But you have to know about um, the elements and atomic number also. Okay, coming to the examples like nitrogen, the symbol you will write it as N, for oxygen O, hydrogen H. Okay, next when you write a carbon C, carbon dioxide here, CO2, water, it is H2O. And here just pay attention here. If two or more elements begin with same letter, because already whatever examples we have seen started with C, carbon C, carbon dioxide also C. Some more examples like C stands for carbon. Again, for calcium also it starts with C, but no need to use capital C. We use capital C and small a. Okay, and like that when you go with chlorine, H already we have for some other thing. That's why we go with the next letter, chlorine, Cl. And when you go with the cobalt, cobalt, capital C, small o. Okay, children. And when you go with the carbon monoxide, That means both capital C and capital O. Like this, we can write the symbols of different elements and compounds. Here we have some elements and their symbols. Just listen, ma. Aluminium, Al, copper, cuprum. So already I told like a carbon we have used C. So for that, not to get confused, we'll go with Latin names like copper. A Latin name is coprum. That's why we go with Cu. Iodine I. Similarly for iron also, iron, ferrum Fe, magnesium Mg, potassium K, kalium K. So here also the Latin name children here. Sodium, natrium Na, sulfur S, zinc Zn. So remember these also, ma. So when you come to the formula, the symbolic expression for a molecule is called a formula. Okay, a molecule of an element may contain one or more atoms of it. The number of atoms in the element present in the molecule being placed at the right lower corner of the symbol for the element. If you see the example, hydrogen H2, oxygen O2. The molecule containing different atoms united in a certain fixed ratio is represented by placing symbols of the various elements present in it side by side indicating their number. So here already we have discussed about CO2, carbon dioxide, water, H2O. This is, I hope you have understood this. You have a different elements here. There you have same elements. So this is the difference, ma. Again, some more compounds example. Just listen. Hydrochloric acid, HCl, sulfuric acid H2SO4, sulfurous acid H2SO3, nitric acid HNO3, sulfur dioxide SO2, carbon monoxide CO. Children, these are all you have to keep in the mind till you will not leave your chemistry. Okay, these are the basics you have to start from 8th standard itself. That is the reason I am telling all this. And you will not find in your textbook these all. Okay. So coming to the chemical properties of metals and non-metals, we have the classification was done like this. Reaction with oxygen, reaction with water, reaction with acids, reaction with bases, and the displacement reactions. Listen carefully each and every reaction so that you can understand the chemical properties of the metals as well as non-metals. So I hope you have understood the physical properties. So like that, you have to be prepared with the chemical properties of metals as well as non-metals. So the first one is reaction with oxygen. So keep in the mind when metals combine with oxygen to form metal oxides. So all the metals combine with oxygen to form metal oxides. So general equation you have to remember here. So metal plus oxygen gives rise to metal oxide. So for example, if you take a magnesium on heating, burns in air. Heating means when it is burning air with a dazzling white light to form a magnesium oxide. Here, what happens here? This is general equation I told. For any metal, you can use that. Magnesium plus oxygen gives rise to magnesium oxide. I hope you have understood, children. Now you have to remember in such a way that the metallic oxide here, whatever the metallic here, the metal oxide I told now, the metallic oxide formed in this reaction, they are basic in nature. I hope you have remembered what is a base, acid, what you have learned in 7th standard. Okay, that I will not discuss now more. You have to keep in the mind. So basic in nature, which turns red litmus to blue litmus paper. Okay. So when you come to non-metals, non-metals react with oxygen to form non-metallic oxides. Here also children be careful with the general equation. Non-metal plus oxygen gives rise to non-metallic oxide. So this is general. For any element you can use this one. So for example like sulfur plus oxygen gives rise to sulfur dioxide. So sulfur burns in air to form a pungent. The pungent is nothing but a strong smell of a gas, or we can call it as a suffocating gas called sulfur dioxide is released during this reaction. Okay. Now, the whatever the non-metallic oxides which are formed here, this is sulfur dioxide is a non-metallic oxide which formed during the reaction with oxygen are acidic in nature and turns a blue litmus to red. I hope you have remembered whatever you have learned in acids and bases lesson of 7th standard. Acids turn blue litmus to red and bases turn red litmus to blue. These points you have to keep in the mind, children. So I told that magnesium burns in air or oxygen with a dazzling light to form a magnesium oxide. So this is a picture related to that magnesium is burning in the air with a dazzling white light. I hope you have observed this. Okay. So here this is sulfur is a non-metal. I hope you know that. So this is a picture related to sulfur burning in the air. Okay, where we get sulfur dioxide as a gas. So in 7th standard, maybe you have seen the litmus papers. So blue litmus papers will be like this, and the red litmus papers will be in this way. So where we have to use the litmus paper to test whether the metallic oxides are of which nature and the non-metallic oxides are of which nature. Already I discussed that in the picture wise I'm showing now. The two examples what I have discussed, one is metal plus oxygen, the other one is non-metal plus oxygen. If you see here, whatever the magnesium oxide which is formed, dissolve in water and keep the litmus paper here. What is this litmus paper? Red mark. See in the hand, this is red litmus paper. When you're keeping in this, what is that, metallic oxide solution, what happens here? It is turning red litmus to blue, which indicates the nature of the metallic oxide is basic in nature. This part you have to remember. Okay, this is called a litmus test also. When you go with this sulfur dioxide, I told her that you collect the ash of that and dissolve in water and you make a solution of sulfur dioxide solution. Now what you have to do, again here also you have to keep your litmus paper. If you see here, this is called a blue litmus paper. What happens here? Blue litmus paper, blue is changing into red, which indicates that non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. You have to remember these two conditions when you perform a litmus test. What happens? Metallic oxides are basic in nature, whereas non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. These 2 points you have to remember, children. Now, children, listen. We have completed reaction with oxygen. Now, the next chemical property is reaction with water also. So, metals react with water to produce metal hydroxide or metal oxides and hydrogen gas. Okay, keep in the mind, children. These are general equations I am telling. You can take any example of any metal. Ma. So, metal plus water gives rise to metal oxide plus hydrogen gas. So metal plus water gives rise to metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. So these are general equation. Might here the metal can be any metal, children. Okay. Here when you go with the sodium plus water, sodium is one of the metal, na? So it gives rise to sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas, children. I hope you have understood this general equation, ma. So listen. Sodium reacts with water to form sodium hydroxide. In this reaction, a large amount of heat is evolved, okay, which results in hydrogen catching fire. And you have to remember that metals like copper, silver, and gold do not react with water under any conditions. So that's the reason teachers as well as your parents will wear a lot of gold ornaments daily. You know that gold chains will wear, not only chains, bangles also. If they react, we cannot wear. No. I hope you have understood this. So metals like copper, silver, and gold do not react with water under any conditions. Okay. Next, non-metals do not react with water. So, these non-metals don't show any reaction with water. This is one more point you have to remember, ma. As sodium is very reactive with water, that's why the sodium is not kept outside because it reacts with atmospheric air and moisture. So that's the reason the sodium is stored in the kerosene. You have to keep this point in the mind, ma. So already I told that sodium reacts violently with the cold water to form a sodium hydroxide along with hydrogen gas. In that reaction, a large amount of heat is evolved in this reaction, which results in hydrogen catching fire. Already I told that the picture related to that I am showing ma here. Sodium reaction with water. So children, in today's class we have learned that some basic concepts of chemistry and two reactions we have learned. One is reaction with the oxygen and the reaction with the water. So I have given a general equation like a metal plus oxygen, what happens? Okay, like that metal plus water also I have given. You have to remember this general equation. So in place of metal, you can keep any metals you like. Only few examples I have kept. Okay, I hope you have understood the today's class. Okay, have a good day. Thank you, children.